What you gonna do, brother, when Jeff Townsend Media runs wild on you?
Don't let mama regret. Give your love and your sweat to the shadow.
All right. I'm Jeff Townsend, and you are tuning in to another live episode of the Bill DeMott Experience. Of course, joining me is Bill DeMott. Well, it wouldn't be a Bill DeMott Experience without you, Bill DeMott.
I don't know. I think it could be, I guess.
I can't help but notice you are not in the DeMott mansion this week.
Yeah, man, I'm not in the mansion. I am in, I can't even tell you where. I'm somewhere in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
I think I'm north of Charlotte a ways. Yeah, I'm on the speaking trail this week. Tomorrow I have a big presentation with Siemens Energy at their power plant in North Carolina. So I'm doing a little bit of traveling.
Is it just you on the road this week?
Just me. That's the scary part for the DeMott clan is when I'm out on my own. A, can he get to where he's supposed to be? And then B, can he find his way home?
That is scary. So you're at a Motel 6 somewhere. Did they say we'll leave the light on for you, or am I thinking of some other?
No, Motel 6 will leave the light on for you.
That's been years. I don't know if they do those commercials much anymore. Those used to be the thing, though.
I don't know. I used to look for the Red Roof Inn everywhere I went, but I've learned over the years that's not conducive to my needs.
I'm a Hilton Garden type of guy.
That's exactly where I'm at. A Hampton Inn and Suites.
Yeah, I use the rewards points for the Hilton Garden. So yeah,
you have to do over the past 30-something years of being on the road with in the business. You have to, even if you're just there for the night, you have to be comfortable where you're at. And so it's not worth it to me to. I don't want to say it's not worth it. Financially, it's probably worth it, but for the extra $20 for a decent sized room that's comfortable, it's so worth it, So that's where I'm at the Hampton Inn and Suites somewhere in North Carolina. I'm excited about what tomorrow is, and then interested to see if I get home.
Lacey DeMott is watching it on Instagram, but Instagram is having some streaming issues tonight. So looks like she looks like the one time she joins, it might not work. Maybe she could just hear. Maybe it's not. I don't know. They did say Instagram was having some issues right now.
Oh.
I don't know. Hopefully not. Looks like it might be fixing itself. But yeah, so if you're tuning in live, we have quite a bit of people tuning in live now across 8 different platforms. This is the Bill DeMott Experience. Don't have any fancy videos to share tonight as far as the Wrestling Observer, which I know Bill looks forward to seeing Dave Meltzer every week. We will do On This Day in Pro Wrestling History later. But Bill, man, I'm thinking for this episode, I've deemed it the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Let's talk. That's officially started now that the Rumbles happened. I would like to talk with you about that tonight. I assume you watched the Royal Rumble.
I did watch it. We watched it. I always say it's come full circle in the DeMott Mansion. Like we sat there, the four of us, we actually sat and watched the Rumble, all of us together. And it's cool to get the insight from Jumbo and what he thinks. And then, Casey's grown up in the business, so it's good to hear her takes on what's happening. And then, Lacey only cheers for Cody Rhodes.
Oh, really? She did say, I can hear and see. Sweet.
Oh, boy. That's her way of making sure I got to where I was supposed to go.
Make sure you're not lost. Big Cody Rhodes fan, though. Okay, I can go with that. You know who my daughter's a fan of? My daughter watched the match with me, 10 years old. Dom. He's so cute, Dom.
See?
So she was heartbroken when Dom got eliminated, put it that way.
Yeah, but Tom and Nick didn't get eliminated, just Dom.
Just Dom. All right, let's start back at the beginning. Only 4 matches on the card. This has been like a change up from what WWE used to do, where they'd cram like 7 matches on this Royal Rumble card. You've really seen the last 3 or 4 premium live events where they've backed off, kicked things back a little bit, and tried to simplify the event. I mean, what's the problem with WrestleMania, right? Where they'd cram in these one night, be like end of 6 or 7 hours, and it's kind of hard to manage. So your feelings on the 4 match thing? Some people say it seemed a little bit too little this time.
I don't know. Until you told me the number of matches, I thought the show was full. I wasn't even really counting the matches until we got to realizing that after Kevin Owens I think, and Logan Paul was the men's Royal Rumble, and realizing that was the last thing advertised. So up until that point, for the most part, I think things went so well, and they just had good action going on. I didn't even really pay attention to the number of matches that were there. So I thought they filled the time pretty well. I thought, here's where I'll get in trouble right off the bat. I thought the women's Royal Rumble went way too long. But otherwise, I thought it was a...
Yeah. If you're listening, comment along. Let us know what you think. We'll start off with the Women's Royal Rumble since that's how it started. I'm trying to remember who you were saying would win. I think we both kind of said Becky or Bayley, and that's what happened. I do think that it was cool to see Naomi in the beginning. We'll start off there. It was cool to see TNA get involved, period, there.
Yes.
But the match itself, and I've seen a lot of people that agreed with this, it was long. It did go long, but it really took a while to get going. Now, I will say one thing. The end was good. That last 5-10 minutes was good. To me, it matches up with the men's, the last 5 or 10 minutes. But getting there took a very long time. And the match seemed overly, silly. Coming out with these extravagant, goofy outfits, in my opinion. It was just a little over the top, the presentation of it, which at times seemed like it was on purpose to me.
Yeah, I almost felt like that's how they got to the next 90 seconds, whatever. It took some of them longer than to get to the ring, get rid of their ring garb and stuff. But I wholeheartedly agree. The last 5 minutes or so was action packed. I wouldn't compare it to the men's.
The ending itself, I guess, the sequence of events of the ending.
Yeah, I see that. I just felt like it was long.
And a lot of people that may not have been ready to be in that match.
Yeah, I think, and here was the good thing and we talked about it a lot at home, and you and I always talk about it, and I thought it was a great thing that you didn't have a lot of legends come back and take spots, from potential competitors. But I really would have liked to have seen, I think, different competitors. And I'll say this. Thank goodness for R-Truth coming out when he did in that match, because it kind of puts some, and it's not a shot at any of the women by any means, but it puts some life back into it. And it got the crowd back into, they were waiting. They were waiting. And I think maybe in hindsight, reversed the order so the new blood came out early, and you saved Naomi and stuff, and the other things towards the end. But by the time they got to Liv Morgan and her being 30, less than captivating. So,
oh, for sure. So shout out to Chad Michael, who was messaging me during the Rumble. So he is actually a casual. I think he watches some premium live event. That's about it every now and then.
Okay.
And he was mentioning to me that it seemed like what you're saying exactly. That first of all, overly cheesy. He was like, is this intentionally supposed to be like this? Then R-Truth came out, and it was very evident that, what do you do? But my question for you is, so when you have a Royal Rumble match, you can look at this a couple different ways, and I'll tell you what stuck out to me. It is a good opportunity for somebody to get some time in there, get some exposure. Right. But to me, wouldn't it be more difficult to operate in that setting with inexperience? To me, that kind of stood out in the women's match, where it seemed like the inexperience was very evident when you got, because we talked about it when we did that watch along of the 2003 Royal Rumble. Yeah. It gets crowded, and it just sticks out like a sore thumb if you don't know where you're at, I feel like, or you're struggling.
Yeah, and I think it was evident, and because of and by inexperience, just the youth of...
Yeah. No, I'm not saying knocking anyone.
Yeah, so that part of that inexperience was a great call, because it seemed like, okay, now I have to wait my turn, and I'm just going to be over here, and I'm not sure how to stay busy, and I'm not sure if I should go over here and get involved and things like that. So I thought there were a lot of good moments. Overall, it just felt long.
Yeah.
And the inexperience showed. But listen, the positive note, the flip side to that is, that's where you're going to get that experience. You can't simulate that at the PC. You can't simulate that in house shows. You can't simulate that at live events. You have to be part of it. So part of me says good for everybody that was in it, And then the other part of like the wrestling brain part of me would have changed the order a little bit and let it build a little differently. Like I said, I thought it was a good start to the night.
But what you don't need, in my opinion, is this is where throughout the years, it seems like it's got a little bit more extreme. Not everybody that comes out needs to be highlighted for an extended amount of time.
Yes.
Used to, dudes would just run out, get eliminated, whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't, they'll obviously plug you when you come in, understandably. But what you don't need is like, I don't need the Alpha Academy gal, and I'm not being mean when I say this. I don't need 90 seconds highlighting her because it didn't help her any.
No, it didn't help.
There's nothing wrong with her, but it didn't help her any.
It made you look at it like, oh, to me, as a fan, I'm going, you could see the difference of seasoned girls, women, and inexperience. And yeah, to your point, there's nothing wrong with being eliminated. Not everybody has to have like 2 minutes of a shine and to show their the greatest hits and get a lot of flip flopping and flying in. I think that would have helped it a little bit. But that's that's always hindsight and watching it from a distance. So, as part of being a part of them, when you lay them out and try to walk through it, it's one of those things on paper, it's different than what it is live. So that's why I say hats off to the newer women that were in there and got that experience. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
I think, okay, let's talk about some positives. Naomi coming back was awesome.
Yep.
Like I said earlier. TNA being there was good.
Yep.
I think that Chelsea Green did great.
Yes.
I'm pretty high up on Chelsea Green in comparison to where she's at on the card, per se, as one might, wrestling insider might say. But I think she did a fantastic job, and I could go on about more people, but I'll just let you comment on what I just threw at you.
Yeah, I agree. I liked the Jordan Grace entry.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Naomi comeback.
Is she back? Do we know?
You know what? I haven't, and I'm not going to say I haven't heard. I haven't read anything about it. So I'm not, I know she's done with TNA. I just don't know if she's signed with WWE. And then I think Chelsea Green, I would compare Chelsea Green to, and this is where I'll really get us a bunch of people commenting. Listen to what I'm saying. The character, Chelsea Green, is the equivalent to me of a Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston. Now, the work is two different things. I'm not trying to compare the work. I'm trying to compare the character of you give Chelsea Green a platform and she understands how to bring it to the spotlight. She's very good at what she does. She's a bumper.
Oh yeah.
She can go. She
gets the stage aspect of it 100%. Better than most women.
Through and through.
Better than most, period.
When she comes through the curtain until she goes back through the curtain, and even backstage, the woman is on all the time. It's believable, and two, she's very good at what she does.
Kind of like a female Santino.
Yeah. But even, and maybe because Santino's not as good looking as Chelsea, you look at Santino differently. You know what I mean? But you look at her like Chelsea has the look. She has the physicality. She has the, the expressions, the whole thing. I'm really hoping that they do something with her coming out of Mania, because you can put Chelsea in any situation and she's gonna be good as gold.
Yeah, I think when I'm thinking of Santino, I think it's taking advantage and really the timing of those comedic moments that she's put in, like how she kept getting hit by things, landed on by people. Like she just knows how to. The timing that she does is incredible.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm with you there. I'd like to see even more of her. Now she came along at a Tough Enough right after your exit, right? She was in that Tough Enough with
Mandy Rose in them, right?
I think so. Yep.
I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, she's come out of that good, man. I mean, kind of made her rounds. Did some TNA, and I'm glad she's back. I just hope they really find something for her.
Yeah,
I thought Piper did a good job. I mean, I
think and being with Chelsea, I think it's helped Piper really come out of her shell even more.
Yeah,
I mean, those two are gold. I think they're the Chad Gable and Otis to the women's division. And I'm not talking about appearance. I'm talking about just how they play off each other. And
right.
Because I'm a Piper Niven fan. I think she can go. And it was cool because every time you looked, you're like, wait a minute, Chelsea didn't get eliminated. There she is in the corner. There she, like, she kept you engaged in what was going on. So hats off to that.
What about Nia Jax? She came back. I mean, well, I guess she been, but her reappearance here.
Yeah, I think she's done really well. I think that Lena has embraced the role this go round. And I can't speak for her because I don't know and I haven't spoken to her, but it's almost like it didn't feel natural to her. So the things that were happening were less than crisp, let's say. But I liked the reintroduction of Nia Jax.
It's a good moment. It's a good platform. These Royal Rumbles in particular are always good.
Yeah,
Moment for her.
yeah. I would have liked to have seen Natty
Yeah,
later on.
I see what you're saying. Later on in the match.
Yeah, later on, because and this is where I go with that veteran status and someone who's been there, and been in so many Rumbles now and had so many moments and as the longest. If I'm not mistaken, she's the longest attending I don't want to say diva. I'm sorry, woman on the roster.
They did say that she's been in the most Rumbles. Is that what it was?
I think so. I think she's tied now with. I think Liv Morgan's tied her.
No way.
I think so. I think they.
Oh yeah, there's not that many Rumbles I get. Yeah, you
Yeah, 6 Rumbles.
You might be right. She definitely, as far as veteran status, you're right about
Yeah,
that.
so I would like to have seen Natty have a bigger. Like, don't get me wrong. Started out with Natty was fine, but you started out with Natty, and then you came out with Naomi. So then Natty's entrance was a wash. And so I would have liked to have seen the veteran women a little later, and the newer girls earlier. But like I said, that's armchair quarterback and looking at it from 30,000 feet.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying about the timing of it, though. Like when certain people came out and all that seemed to be a little bit off.
Yeah.
You had such a long damn stretch of inexperienced, which again, not bad, but the timing of it was just. But that's a lot of women to put, and WWE's done an amazing job of building that talent pool and recruiting that talent pool. But still, that's like 30 is a lot.
30 is a lot.
It's a lot for men. I mean, it's a lot for women both. But you could tell there was a really long stretch there where it was rough.
Yeah.
And they wrote it out. And I'll say this with the men's match: they wrote it out with a lot of people in there for a long time. Yeah. There were stretches of several minutes where I'm like, how much longer are they going to have this many people in the ring? Maybe that was kind of to cover up some of the inexperience part of it. But then again, I think the inexperience part of it, and I'll go back to it, and you spoke on it, it's hard to work in the ring with all those people.
Everybody thinks that, everybody's talking about everything that's going on and all this stuff and that stuff. So if you're the young kid on the block and this is your time, you're going to try to get your stuff in, or you're going to try to be, stay busy and not get gassed and all these things. So there's so much that goes into that I think just the inexperience shows. And at one point in a ring full of well-known women and more recognized women, like I saw, oh my gosh, is it Gargano's wife? My son calls her the girl from Frozen.
Candice LaRue.
Candice, yes.
Candice, yeah.
Forgive me for forgetting her name.
Frozen. Who did you say said that?
My son said she looks like the girl from Frozen.
It looks like Elsa from Frozen.
Elsa.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because she has the purple blue hair. And
Yeah. That's pretty good comparison for Little Billy.
So I think when you saw them still in the ring, when it started getting to the meat of the order and stuff, it was a little weird for me because they weren't doing anything. So there was a lot of bodies in there.
There was, but again, we'll get to as we get on to the match here. Big moment, obviously. There were people that got some good reception from the crowd, right? Becky Lynch being one of them. She couldn't have came out soon enough there, man. I tell you, it was time to get her out there. Almost felt like she was a couple entries too late into the match.
Yeah.
But then again, I get it. So Becky Lynch always going to be, there's a reason she's one of the highest paid people there, right? I mean, making big money. But without a Charlotte Flair there, they did have another card they were able to go to, and that was Jade Cargill.
Yeah, I saw meaning I read so many angry, that I
really
see people going, oh, well, she shouldn't have been in there and she didn't look like she comfortable and she was moving this. And I'm going, everybody that waited so long to see her, just be happy that she was there. And that was the introduction of Jade
Yeah.
Cargill. I think there's so much room to continue to grow and develop her character and persona. Like, that's the one thing I do not like about the internet and everybody having free speech is they get to tear people up. So,
I mean, you could be a little critical. I do think maybe she was in there 2 minutes too long, but I don't even know if
yeah,
it's 2 minutes too long. It might be just a little bit more focus than was needed. That was the
yeah,
case throughout the match. I mean, like we're talking about, the timing seemed weird. May have exposed her a little bit too much, but certainly didn't do a bad job
no,
by any means.
it
I mean,
didn't hurt her
that
at
was a
all.
sloppy match, and as expected for a Royal Rumble match. But she
Yeah.
certainly held her own during it.
Yeah, I was
They needed
excited.
her out there.
I was excited that they did it there.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it. I honestly thought they were going to wait till WrestleMania. But to your point of Charlotte being out,
It was a little lackluster on the people that could be in it.
yeah,
You took Io Sky, he's not going to be in it. Rhea Ripley's not going to be in it, which
Right.
is Rhea Ripley not being in it is huge.
and Io Sky's going to give you those moments.
Yep.
You know,
So they were struggling to pull, but they did a good job. I think they could have. I know and you called it when we'll get to the men's match that you didn't really think there would be many surprises. You
right.
call it, and there weren't. But I think it wouldn't have hurt maybe one or two for this particular women's match.
I thought we would have seen a Trish Stratus maybe appear, because of all her stuff recently and still part of the Raw brand and things like that. So I think I thought we would have seen maybe a Trish and maybe one other surprise. I don't know what that surprise would have been. I would have, I think I threw out the name Molly Holly. I threw out.
I always take Mickey James showing up.
And once I saw Jordan Grace, I didn't think we'd see Mickey James.
Right, same here,
So,
which is fine. I mean,
yeah.
but I do think it could have used one or two. But all in all, it was just the timing was a little bit weird, but the ending sequence of events was good. I mean, it's got to be hard to top last year's ending sequence of events when you have that moment with Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Liv Morgan coming back, though. She has a connection with that young audience.
Yeah, the people love her.
Yeah.
But even at her entrance, I don't know if they were just waiting for number 30 to be Hulk Hogan, or they were just waiting for number 30 to keep it going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a tough spot for her to be in. But without a doubt, she's a fan favorite. So now, she's back. So we have a couple of women that are coming back, and that roster. So I was trying to think who on the main roster wasn't involved in that, other than Rhea, Io, and Charlotte. I was trying to think of who's not involved, and I can't.
You'd have to about use everybody, man.
I think they had everybody, and then they had 5 or 6 from NXT.
Yep.
But NXT could have thrown all 30. They have 30 women down there.
Oh, yeah, they definitely have people in the pipeline. But again, I mean, you got to take it. It's like a mixed thing that we talked about. What do you do with that match?
Right.
What do you expose people to,
Well, I think they did a good job.
Yeah, all in all, it was a good match. I wonder who produced that match.
I'm not there, so I don't know, but I'd have to say Finley probably was in on that.
Well, how do you think Tiffany Stratton did?
Tiffany Stratton did this spot where she went out on her back and her feet were still in the air. I thought we were going to get her back in the match. I honestly bit on it and went, her feet never touched the ground, but then she rolled over and stood up, and I was like, they got me.
Oh, she landed flat back on the.
Yes.
Yeah.
And her feet were in the air. I'm like, oh, she's going to stay in it because I'm a Tiffany fan. So I thought, oh, maybe she's going to make it till the end, but then she just got up, normal. I was like,
Yeah. Somebody would have had to. She would have had to scoot. Yeah, maybe something could have been done. It wouldn't have been easy though, man.
it
Being
would have
on
been
the
easy.
floor.
No.
Somebody would have had to help her or something. But yeah, Jade Cargill eliminating Nia Jax was huge.
Yeah.
Then I think we could have guessed that Bayley. Once Becky went out, it was all Bayley.
Yeah, and I feel like they gave it away the week before.
Yeah, like I told you that. I said, hey, don't count. Everybody's talking about Becky, but you don't have. And again, we'll get to that to the men's match. You don't have to win that match to go for the title at WrestleMania, right?
Right. And so we kind of got that with that face off between Becky and Rhea.
Yep.
So I feel like they kind of gave us the story going in, but great moment for Bayley.
You've got a story with Bayley too, man. You've got the whole Who do I choose? Well, it's very evident that group is coming near an end, or in some fashion. Maybe it's Bailey being out of that group. So you had a feeling in the seeds were planted for her to be in this position where she could be like, who do I want to choose? Do I want to choose Rhea Ripley or these people that are going to exile me from this faction?
Well, I think it's funny because it gives Bailey the out now of going, listen, all the gold will still be in damage control. I'll just be holding it, and Io Sky won't. I think they can. I was a big fan of, please let's end this damage control thing. A year ago, I'm like, come on.
You said that before WrestleMania. You and I, we've been doing this podcast for
Yes.
In 2 weeks, we will have just slightly past our year, and you've been saying it since we started recording. So, but has it made decent comeback at times? Yes.
Yes.
More than I expected from it, but yeah, to your point, it's very evident that something's going to happen, whether the group changes or just is completely done. But this is the starting point of it.
Yeah, and I think Bailey and Io will have a outstanding once they make it official.
I don't know if Bailey's ever had a bad match.
No,
Io Sky hasn't really either.
Yeah, so I look forward to that one.
Not a bad ending sequence, like I said.
Right.
All in all, when it was said and done, the way Bailey won matches her character, matches the storyline, so she can go and choose. I mean, maybe she'll choose Rhea Ripley. We don't know. We don't know what they have in store. But I would guess it would be Io Sky.
That's my whole thing about the past 10 days or so of television is I love how you just don't know.
You don't.
And I'm not a guy who needs to know. I don't want to figure it out. I want to go, holy crap. I want to go, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain amount of joy that comes from being wrong with what you think is going to happen. And this event and those two matches were pretty good about it. Yeah. Even though I said Becky or Bailey, right? And I got the final three right on the men's, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Move on to the so what match was after that, man? We had the championship match, we had the fatal four-way. Is it called a fatal four-way? I don't know. Is that what it's called still? Or just a four-way?
I don't know if it was a fatal four-way. I think it was just a four-way.
So Roman Reigns, LA Knight, Randy Orton, who am I forgetting here? I'm drawing a blank. AJ Styles, of course. Not a bad match, man, but it's so hard to do those triple threats and four ways.
The timing is, if you want to make it exciting, the timing is so hard for the saves and the stopping a pinfall for the other guy and all these things. The timing it's so hard, but you had guys that were obviously good at it.
But here's the thing, not to interrupt you, and I want your honest comment on this.
Okay.
The Royal Rumble is a match of purely spots. Triple threat and fatal four-way matches are very similar.
Yes.
So to have those on the same card, to me, is a rough decision to make. And I get that we're going to have 4 matches tonight. We need to load this card up. I get that mindset. I do. You want to have a returning Randy Orton who you haven't really fully got deep into a storyline completely yet.
Right.
We don't know the direction of what Randy Orton moving forward with what he's doing. So you got to get him in. AJ Styles has returned. You're yawning. You're tired, Bill.
I'm sorry, dude.
No, it's all right.
I'm caught up on my 9 hours of driving.
You see what I'm saying, though? You want to get everybody in, but it's a rough decision to make when you kind of have these 2 Rumble matches that are all based on these spots where...
Not only that, you're making a decision on the 4 guys that have been carrying, 3 out of the 4 guys. I'm going to leave Roman out of this equation. You have Randy, LA Knight, AJ Styles, and then you could put Cody and Punk in there too. But sure. 3 out of the 5 guys you have in this finishing my story and this and that. And while the match itself was good, I felt like what happened, like of all the other competitors other than Roman, I was more excited to see what happens with Randy. And now I'm like, where do we go now? What am I going to see Randy do now? Because now it's we have a clear-cut path to WrestleMania. And so now to put anything back into it where the 3 of them are arguing again about Roman, it doesn't make sense to me.
Knowing that that's not the end result.
Right. Knowing that you're not going to get that, at least until May or after or whatever. So it led me to, like I said, the match was good, the finish was good, but I'm so into the stories that they've been telling that it felt flat for me. And it felt flat for me more on the Randy Orton side than any of the other, more than LA Knight or AJ Styles, because I feel like you could pair AJ Styles and LA Knight off, and go do something against each other, what have you. But I was really curious to see where Randy's part in this. I'm curious to see where it's going to go, is my point.
Yeah. But again, my opinion, the intent was to just get star power for the 4 matches.
Yeah.
That's a risky thing, right? And it's better than 7 matches by far, because that's too much in that setting. The Rumble doesn't need to be so long, though, in my opinion, but that we can get to that. But yeah, you got to have the star power on there. I get that, but it just felt like it was a weird match to have. End result, not. But here's the thing: maybe it will branch off with those 3 guys somehow. But it's a weird position for like this semi-heel AJ. I know you don't like the heel babyface thing, but getting weird vibes on AJ Styles. You got 2 other guys that are clearly baby faces. I'm not a big fan of 4-way matches, to be honest with you. I think what Mania was it? Was it 2000 when we had the McMahon in every corner 4-way?
Oh,
kind of a cluster, but at least it went with a storyline. This, however, you're really grasping at things, trying to make this a storyline. But the match itself was okay.
The build up to the whole evening was awesome. Like, you were invested in the matches. Let me ask you this. Let me be that guy. Do you think that 4-way match, or whatever we're going to call it, should have been on at the end?
I mean, in theory, right? It's a championship match, but no.
Well, for me, I'm sitting there thinking, wow, what a, and this is, again, armchair quarterback, right? Wrestling brain, sitting here after the fact, not having to think about all these other things. I was thinking about if they would have put that at the end and Roman standing tall and Cody coming out.
After he had won, yeah.
After he had won.
Only problem with that is you can't have 2 Rumble matches that close to each other. It's just too much.
Right.
It's almost too much period on the show.
So it goes back to your point of only 4 matches. There's not a lot of room in between the 2 Rumble matches. And it gives everybody a chance to go longer.
Yeah.
It allows everybody to put some time in. And that's always been a thing in the locker room side, not the fan side so much, but the locker room side is, man, I wish they just give us more time. So they got the time this year.
Yeah, I've got some comments popping up. Yeah, Chad Michael, we'll get to that here when we get to the men's match. I'm not ignoring you or anybody else for that matter. I do think that we talked about this clear back from when we first started doing this reboot of the Bill DeMott Experience. I think what sparked this conversation for me was the Elimination Chamber. You got to do 2 chamber matches. You got to do 2 Rumble matches and all that now. And that really changes how you lay out that show.
Right.
But I will say, last year, though, with the Sami Zayn thing, that was different. And there was a huge cliffhanger at the end of that Royal Rumble, right? That was the whole Sami Zayn turning back, right? Yeah, he hit him with the biggest pop we've heard in a while. It just depends on, like, the situation, man, but for this, not much heat going in on the Fatal 4-Way match. Probably more going, and the match itself was okay, but probably more attention going on the next match, which was Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, which was a good match.
So going back to the 4-Way for a minute, that's what I feel like we did not get. There was all the buildup, which I thought was great storytelling this whole time leading up to this, when, and then Nick Aldis making it a 4-Way, and,
yeah, he's going to stick it to Roman Reigns.
I thought the buildup was great, and I don't think the match gave us that storyline. So that's why I say I feel as a Randy Orton fan, I'm going, well, what do we do now? Like, I'm putting myself in his shoes. What do we do now? Or where are we going to go? Or is it just something that we revisited after Mania? Because now like I mentioned, is Randy part of Mania, and who's it going to be with, and how are we going to get to that story soon enough to tell it? You know what I mean?
That he's going to be a part of it somehow.
He's going to be part of it.
He's one of the best ever, man. I mean, he's going to be a part of it. But to your point, how? I don't know.
Who's it going to be? And because you got McIntyre knocking on everybody's door, and
oh yeah, he's on fire too. We'll get to that. Let's talk about Logan Paul, Kevin Owens. Going to this match, I don't know what's somebody saying here. Logan Paul and Owens had beef. I think they're actually. I don't know if they have beef. Listen to Logan Paul's podcast. He hangs out Kevin Owens quite a bit. I don't know if they have any real beef. But anyway,
Don't go off that video they showed from the Performance Center.
it's a work, brother.
It's so work. Don't go off of that stuff. Stop.
Yeah, I know. I think Kevin Owens has been pretty helpful with Logan Paul. But speaking of that, these two guys did a good job. Kevin Owens coming in with a legit hand injury. Then that is probably healed by now, let's be honest. But the fact that he actually has a broken foot.
People need to know his deal's legit. He's a legitimate tough guy. Like, he's not going to stand in an alley and fight you. He's just a tough guy.
And the stuff he's able to do, and
he doesn't let the little things bother him. And I think he's a great storyteller. I think Kevin elevated Logan Paul.
when did Owens and Logan start having matches together? They haven't. That's the crazy part about it. So the storyline developed off of a tournament to crown a new U.S. I'm answering listener questions or viewer questions.
Yeah.
But they have not worked. That's the thing about Logan Paul. You got to realize, if I know the person asking is a casual watcher, probably Logan Paul doesn't have matches unless it's like a significant premium live event match.
Yeah.
So the reps that he doesn't get reps normal. Do they do some stuff at the Performance Center and stuff? Yeah, I'm sure. But is he actually getting out on the road, getting repetition? No. And that's what's amazing. And that's what makes what Logan Paul is able to do so great. He clearly just gets it. But he has to be in there with a person that can help him out, right? The Ricochet matches were, they had some cool high spots and stuff, but you could tell he wasn't in there. And Ricochet's a great worker, don't get me wrong. But a true ring leader, what do they say? Ring general. Obviously, there's been some great ones, but Logan Paul's got to be in there with somebody like that right now, which he's only had, 8 or 9 matches, maybe.
Yeah,
But you can't throw him in there just cold turkey. So he's got to be in there with somebody that's so good that they get him through that match, because he physically could do it. Logan Paul could do anything physically, right? I mean, that's no problem. And he gets the psychology of it, but you got to have somebody in there with him that can actually do the workings of a wrestling match.
Yeah, you have to be in there with a storyteller, a worker, and to your point, you can go there with Ricochet and you get them two to jump off the top rope and crash in the middle. It's unbelievable stuff. But to get him through that match, you have to be in there with a ringleader and someone who can tell, not just someone who can tell their story, but can tell the other guy's story as well. And that's what Kevin Owens is, and his stock continues to rise in the back, I'd imagine. And
he's become a lifer, I would say, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what. I hope this match goes past the Elimination Chamber into Mania.
And if you're listening to this later, not live, we are answering questions as we go along. So what actually led to their match was a tournament.
Yeah.
They had a tournament for the number one contender of the U.S. title, and that was won by Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Then Logan Paul obviously used his platform to promote it. But yeah, that match is probably, is the way it was laid out and actually done, the best match of the night.
Yeah, I could have done without the
friend jumping in.
His signature friend jumping in. I thought that went a little too long.
What was his name? It's Jeff. It's Jeff.
No idea what his name was. Like, they were yelling it was Jeff, but you didn't know, if it was like his brother.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have went that long because people would then relate to it, but it's just, and no disrespect, but it was one of his cronies. It was too much emphasis on him at the time.
Yeah, I did like how Pat. So what I want to get to Pat McAfee next.
Jeez.
But Pat McAfee even sold the fact that he had no clue who the hell Jeff was, really.
McAfee is absolutely, and I believe this about everyone, if you just let everybody be honest and be themselves, the people that are really good at commentary, if you just let them go and trust that they're going to protect the product and the players and the company, McAfee is gold. Because I got no idea what the hell this is, but golly.
Yeah, people are commenting, Jeff is not even a famous friend. So yeah, I'll be honest. I have not consumed a lot of Logan Paul's content, but I do watch his podcast sometimes.
Right.
Mostly when he has people from WWE in there.
Right.
But I don't I don't know who that guy is. You'd have to literally be watching and be I think, very in tune with everything Logan Paul's done to know who this. But I do think the guy at WrestleMania in the crayon suit, as you called it, which is a Prime Energy, that was a well-known guy.
That made sense. Yeah.
That was a well-known guy, and it was with Prime Energy, with the Prime drink and all that.
Yep.
But this particular guy,
Yeah.
was an average Jeff, and I can relate.
I would have gave more time. I would have gave more time to Theory and Grayson Waller.
Yeah, honestly,
For that.
I don't know if you needed. I will say I agree with you. If we're going this way, I don't think the match needed all that.
I don't think it needs
Get him the damn knucks, man. Get out of there.
And I'm not a fan of people coming out in every match. And here's why I say that. The Rumble, someone's coming out every 90 seconds.
It's
And
same concept as the Fatal 4-Way we just talked about. It's got a
And
lot of
the-
spots in it.
the Fatal 4-Way, you had interference there.
Of course you did. The Bloodline's involved.
Then Kevin Owens, you had interference there. And then you went to the Men's Royal Rumble and you had people coming in. So I don't think, and you nailed it to your point, I don't think it needs to be in a Royal Rumble PLE.
Right.
There should be less stuff going on, I think, on the outside and with people getting involved because you already have that.
Yeah. Apparently Jeff is his manager, maybe. That's what I'm being told.
Well, hello, Jeff. Nice to meet you.
He makes more money than this, Jeff.
I'll call myself Jeff and go out there.
Yeah.
Get my brass knuckles.
I did. Okay, let's talk about the ending because I like that old school ending, dude. Did you like it too, where he got caught using them? I
Yeah.
loved it.
Because I don't think anybody was expecting it. And how do you keep the story going legitimately instead of going, oh, he cheated or that? No, okay.
Yeah.
And Owens is gonna own that. And that's the thing. Owens is gonna tell that story. So I'm looking forward to it going past Elimination Chamber and these two going to Mania with one of, if not one of the top 3 solid stories in the company right now.
I agree with you. I thought the ending was cool, and he just happened to see those brass knuckles as he was painting them. And it was a little bit of a swerve because it didn't seem like he was going to see him.
Right.
But that's an old school. That seems like something Dusty would have done back in the day, or Graham or something.
Yeah.
I liked it. So yeah, I agree with you. This is a story that has legs. It can go on. If you don't have anything else for Kevin Owens to do, first of all, I think he needs to probably get healthy. But
Yeah.
he's obviously dinged up, as are a lot of people. We'll get into that. But I think it's good stuff. These guys have chemistry.
Yeah, you could even tell the story through Elimination Chamber without them getting physical again in that PLE and save it for Mania. So yeah,
I don't. The likelihood of Logan Paul being in Elimination Chamber, I don't know. It may be, right, because they're going to different countries. So Australia,
right?
Maybe they'll want to have him there.
Well, it depends on who else goes, right? Do they need him?
Yep.
It's selling that well. All those things come into play, but I would love to see him bypass it. Let Kevin get a little, like to your point, get a little healthier, and then have those two really, really tear a hole in it at WrestleMania.
Hey, kudos to Logan Paul. Another great outing for him. And of course, Kevin Steen's always great. He's been such a big pickup, man. He has been like a utility player. I'm trying to think of how else to word it. He has been a guy they could go to whenever they've needed to. And you have to have people like that.
Right. And the funny part about it is some guys and girls, men and women, who aren't as involved for a certain amount of time kind of get lackluster, and you need,
Stale a little bit.
Yes, stale, and they need to get the steam built up a little bit. Not Owens. He's ready all the time, and he's on. You give him a promo segment, he's going to knock it out. You give him a physical segment, he's going to knock it out. So
something about him, isn't there? It's like, I don't know how to describe it. So he kind of like a normal guy like you and I, but just a tough son of a bitch, I guess. I don't know. I don't have to work.
He's a man's man, and he's and that's the part of you. Look, he's a great dad. He's a great husband. He's a great wrestler, and he walks it as he talks it. Every bit of what he says is believable because it's all true, and that's how he lives his life. And like he said, he loves to fight. So you're putting him in there with a fighter, and
he's got that vicious side to him. That I'm glad people got to see, because obviously watching Ring of Honor, we've shown some clips on here. I mean, I was aware of that, but when he came out after Sami Zayn won that NXT title, and he did that when he power bombed him onto that edge of the apron, I guess the apron on the outside. That was huge, man.
Yeah.
As they were walking down, and he slammed him back on his head. Right, that's how it started. Right, if I'm remembering, that was huge, and I think that's something we'll be able to go back to with those guys. But you just think about what Kevin Owens has done. They have plugged him in there, 3 times during this Roman Reigns run as champion, and he's held up to it every time. He does all sorts of kind of matches too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a go-to guy for that company, and it's another guy. We've been wrong on this show before, but he's another guy I don't picture leaving. He's become a real. It's like AJ Styles too, man. Yeah, but I think AJ Styles is kind of doing a lot of this stuff we're talking about with Owens before.
Right.
But he's become a go-to guy.
Yeah, he's just. I'm trying to think of how to word it to make it make sense to everyone. You could have him in the opening dark match. You're going to get the same results. You could have him in a pre-show. You could have him on the magazine shows on the Saturday Night Heats and all those other things.
Or the main event.
Or you put him in the main event and he's going to deliver every time.
Every time.
Top to bottom. I firmly believe he's all in. Like, Kevin's the kind of guy who talks to people in the back. Kevin's the kind of guy who's not afraid to offer an opinion to other people, whether they're veterans or not. So I very much appreciated working with him, alongside him, and watching him grow into this. So I'm a huge Kevin Steen fan.
Me too. Always have been. Always have been. Always will be, for sure. I'm just glad the world gets to see how good he is.
Yeah.
Because you get concerned sometimes. There's some guys that just never get that, but he made dang sure he did.
And that's the thing. You have to wait for the table to go around again, right?
But you have to take advantage of it when it does.
And that's what he does. He takes it and makes you go, crap, we have to keep him involved in something.
You know how many guys there have been and women that as you're talking about rotating and you get that moment, and you maybe just don't utilize absolute best that you can in that moment for whatever reason, your fault or not. But that's not an issue with Kevin Steen. So
right.
Let's talk about the men's Royal Rumble match. How did you feel about how it started with the Usos kicking it off together? We'll walk through the participants as we go through this, but we've been away from that storyline for a while, man. Yeah, and we planted the seed again.
So I would. So you know me, I'm going to come back and ask you the question: did we need to see that first, or did we seen a bunch of physicality going on with 4 or 5 guys in the ring, one of the Usos in, and then here comes the other one, and then they go face to face, and then everybody else could have stopped it. It could have been something more exciting. And again, from 30,000 feet. Here's what I love about what WWE is doing. They're keeping everything alive. It never, you said it, it's still alive. Now you had them face to face. So, and you put the packages that they put together better than anybody in this business, and all of a sudden they're back in another angle,
Yep. So are you trying to say that it was a lackluster start?
No, I don't think it was
because a lot of times, Bill, you get some big ones, 1 and 2.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they weren't big. I'm just saying, would that moment of the Usos being face-to-face mean more with other participants? Because then you could have tied in how everybody hates the bloodline, and both of them got heat with different people, and it would have saved them from being physical. So we could have still teased it, and by the time they were going to go, here comes 3 or 4 other guys. And so I'm just saying, that's why I say after the fact, looking at it, I go, man, I wonder if they could have waited on that. But starting it out that way, it was cool. It was cool because you had commentators. I think it was cooler for us as viewers on the television than it was for people live.
What? So are we getting that Uso at WrestleMania? Those two? They got to have. So let me ask you, does this play out with them going head to head, or do they just form back together somehow without going head to head? If you had to guess.
If I had to guess, I would say it has to revolve around Solo.
Yeah.
And I would say that Solo separates himself, which brings all 3 brothers together.
They're playing that up. Solo separating himself, but he's good and all for how long he's been in it, but he's not at their level quite.
Right. But
especially what Jay's been able to do.
Unless they really start to heat that up, I don't see them facing each other at WrestleMania.
Yeah, which I honestly, if you would have asked me back at SummerSlam, past that time period, I would guess they would actually have a match against each other at WrestleMania.
Right.
But you're right. They got to, if they're coming back to that, they got to do it quickly.
Yeah, they got.
But don't rush it, because you don't want to rush it.
Right.
But To your point, we'll see. It's a possibility, though. I do think it's still a possibility out there, and it could be interesting. They are at and I've probably told this story before, but just back when I was in college, I went to a house show, and they were in the dark match. This is forever ago, brand new, and it just to see how far they've come is amazing. Individually, even, I mean, they're going to be a Hall of Fame tag team, but individually, how far they've come.
They went from not being able to speak.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean they can't speak, but you get the jips when you're out there holding a microphone or having to cut a promo or something. So to your point of seeing them and knowing them from when they first started to what they're doing now, that's what it's supposed to be. The person going through it says, this is too long, I can do this, 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 and this. But if you have people who see the vision and if you just trust it, right? Trust the system, sometimes it pays off. And these guys are proof of that.
A couple other people that came in, we'll jump into that. We had Grayson Waller come in. Andre made a comeback, which I told you he would. I remember I said that. I called.
Yeah.
I think we all knew that, though. Then Carmelo Hayes came in, and then you had this moment where Waller and Hayes were playing off their storyline, and Andre was just being a badass like he is.
Yeah.
He's really good, man. I mean, you knew he'd be bad. There's a lot of these guys that are going to come back, man.
Right.
As soon as Triple H got in the position he did going back to when the whole Vince McMahon thing started, there were a handful of guys that were just dying to get out of AEW, and there's still a handful there and get back to be with
yes,
under Triple H, which you know Triple H. Personally, I don't. But he has a couple guys that were workhorses in NXT that would just run through a brick wall for him.
Yeah.
And these are the guys. This is one of them.
Why, and I'm asking you this question, and everybody who's listening and getting involved in the show, why would the announcers, and this is just a little thing, may mean, if it means nothing, say, Bill, means nothing, let's move on. But for me, I'm sitting there listening, and I'm a fan, and Andrade comes back, and there he is, 5'9", 220 pounds. I'm going, why are you making people now think? Why is the kid at home going, well, I'm 5'9"? I could, you know what I mean? Like,
I see what you're saying.
No one, I don't mean to say no one needs to know that, but on TV, these men and women are larger than life, and you just made it less. To me, it lessened his appearance. Hey, at 5'9", 220, he's the toughest SOB. I'm like, then how can I expect him to go toe-to-toe with Drew McIntyre?
He's legit shorter than Charlotte, I would say.
Yes.
He's married too, but
yes.
Still though.
That was something that just really stuck out to me.
And I think, and here's my thought on that. TKO having some creative, they're obviously going to throw some creative. I don't think they're that heavily involved, but I do think they're a sports-based thing. The entertainment aspect of this is not quite as, it's kind of newer to them. And I do think you're going to see a little bit of more of that realistic sports approach. I think that they've started doing it in some of the interviews that we've seen. They've in the moment interviews like you were at like a sporting event. Like I just had a UFC fight. I'm at a halftime at a basketball game. Like you're starting to see that. And I think that's part of the influence of what TK, I could be wrong, but I kind of get that vibe that could be their creative influence.
Yeah, but I would have rather heard his stats in a one-on-one.
I agree.
Encounter.
You don't need to talk about the fact that he's 5'9", because you don't know that.
Right.
And nothing about that guy that indicates he's like 5'9".
Right.
You're
and this
watching him physically.
Paint the picture of, he's in that group of guys.
Yep. Moving on. Carmelo Hayes, Waller. Oh, man. If this is what they're going to do with Carmelo Hayes, I don't know. Stay in NXT, brother. And that's not a knock on NXT. I don't need to see Grayson Waller bad. I get it. You have to have little side storylines, but what does this do for the NXT champ? Just stay with Trick. Just finish that out, which they will. But maybe WrestleMania, right?
Of the two, I see Trick Williams going a lot farther and longer than.
You would not have told me that. Well, maybe. Would you have told me that 6 months ago?
No, I would not have.
Okay, that's what I didn't think you would have. Just getting honest feedback from you there. And that's not a bad thing either. Shinsuke Nakamura came in at 6. Santos Escobar comes in at 7. and we're just getting people in at this point, right?
Yeah.
Shinsuke Nakamura kind of been a comeback kid the last year. He's got a lot more involved with storylines. So you knew he'd be in this match. Cool, he declared, right, I will be in the Royal Rumble. But yeah, not a bad thing. Karrion Kross comes in at 8. And man, I tell you what, I really like Karrion Kross, but they just got to figure out how to put him in a good, like, it's just like this weird thing where he gets these opportunities, kind of, sort of. And obviously, I think Hunter must be high on him, but it's just a weird thing with him always, man.
I'm like you. I'm a fan of his, but I don't get it. And everything.
What are you trying to do with this? You know?
Yeah, everything. And I don't want to say it wrong, but everything he's touched or everything that's given to him falls flat to me. So the question for me that I'd like to know is this Kross presenting these creative ideas to them,
I don't know,
or are they presenting them to him and he's trying to do the best with it? Because what happens quite often is you get presented things, you do your best with it, falls flat, and they give up on you. But there's something to it because someone likes it.
Yep.
But I think what people liked was the original Karrion Kross in NXT.
Yep.
Bring that and we never got that. And I think that's what makes people start to sour on, oh, here we go again. So now you put them with the two goons again and Paul Ellering, and
it's not just him either. They have when they transition people out of NXT, there's some ones that fall between the cracks. Apollo Crews is one of them. I mean,
not some, 90%.
Which is expected, right? I mean, it takes a lot to convert to that main audience.
But when you change what they've done,
yeah,
for that year, 2 years, 3 years, and you say, no, do this.
Yep.
Come on, man. That's like being a quarterback and being the best quarterback in college football. You get drafted number 1 and they tell you to play center. What?
Yeah, it's like you're a warm body. We'll just throw you in there with whatever.
Yeah. But you liked me, and here's the thing about that quote unquote developmental. In NXT, they're giving you your name, your character, and everything to prepare you for the main roster. And up until this new regime, when you got there, it was changed.
That's what I'm saying with Carmelo Hayes. Just let's go back to NXT, brother. Baron Corbin, let's do NXT, brother.
Yeah, let him stay there.
Don't move me if you don't have anything legitimate. But I get it. You need guys like that you can just throw in and do things. I get that. But as far as long term, what it's going to do for him, it does not help.
Yeah, because you sit and try to figure out the roster, and how many of those guys do they have? Hey, let's do some really cool stuff for now, and then they just become part of the roster. And that's the environment that people start to get sour on. They start to walk on eggshells, start the guessing game. Am I not good enough? And no, it's just that there's so many.
Yeah. You got guys you can use. Jinder Mahal's done that, man. I mean, he's been a guy they go to for still. I mean, he may not even be around, and he'll come back and he'll do whatever they want him to do, which is all part of it. But at this point in the match itself, though, you start getting, I think Dom came in, which was obviously, that guy has heat, man. Dominic Mysterio, see him break away from Ray and just, it's been amazing. So he gets in there. Carlito comes out, man. That's always cool to see in Carlito. And he's in the best shape of his life, isn't he?
Yeah.
He got the apple spot, too. Did you like that? Pulled the apple out of his trunks.
See, veteran move. Get your signature stuff in there, and
don't spit that on me, man.
Right.
Cool moment. Escobar obviously has got a tie in there. I think Carlito had an injury, didn't he? He's coming back from. Did he get hurt?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but he kind of was off the scene there for a while. I think he got hurt. But anyways, yeah, no, he did great. He's been a good pickup. But again, he's just kind of a guy on the roster, but a guy you can go to.
A guy you can go to.
Bobby Lashley comes in. He gets his moment in. He's looking like a badass. And I'm starting to think about this time, man, it takes these guys a long time to get to the ring, just like the women's match.
Yeah.
You have a big arena. Yeah, that was a weird one, right? It had like a twist and a turn to get to the ring.
There seemed to be at least more action going in this match, you know.
It takes a long time.
And it gave the commentators things to talk about, and so you were kind of doing this a lot more. Like the watch along we did, everybody was running to that ring.
Even you.
because you knew you had to get your stuff in. You know what I mean? You knew that was your only opportunity.
You've got 90 seconds ish, maybe 65 seconds, maybe
Right.
2 minutes. I mean,
And they're coming out with full guard, but I think up until they're
taking off their apparel. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's okay up until this point.
Yeah. The Bobby Lashley carrying cross, Street Prop, all that played out incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't think it needed to stay much longer. My opinion, that's just my opinion, but that played out, set its course. Ludwig came in, Austin Theory came in, Finn Balor came in. Man, you could forget some of these people are in the match.
Right.
To your point earlier, they don't need to have everybody have these huge extravagant moments, right?
Here comes the guy again, R-Truth. I'm not sure if I'm at the right order. But I'm just thinking.
You're not at all.
What's that?
You're not at all. No,
I'm not.
later.
But as guys are coming out and they're doing their thing, and not everybody has to have a million spots and highlights and stuff. And then Truth brings everybody back into it with the most ridiculous thing in the world.
He did.
But it kept us interested. It kept us.
Yeah.
There was action. There's something to talk about past that action.
We've stuck to the storylines at this point, right? We've got the Carlito, the Escobar storyline. We got Bobby Lashley carrying cross.
Yep.
We've got Grayson Waller, Carmelo Hayes. We've just stuck to that right now at this point in it. Ludwig comes out, like I said. Austin Theory gets involved. Finn Balor. Then at 15, when we really did actually need somebody good, big coming in, Cody Rhodes came in.
Yeah.
Right in time. We needed that. You need guys. You can kind of go with two different approaches when you do this Royal Rumble. You don't have to, but yeah, the guys that have been there for a long time that win it, which they do that all the time. Yeah, the guys that come in and take advantage of it then win it, which surprisingly is not as often as the guys that have been in there the whole time. But I like this come in the middle part for Cody Rhodes. It was needed, dude.
Well, I think they did a great job. Last year, he was number 1, right?
Gunther started off. Did Cody start off?
Cody was... No,
it was early.
He was there the whole time. So this year, he's in there halfway through. And to your point of, this is what we said earlier about the women's Royal Rumble. They needed, though, to split them up proper to get the reactions, keep the people, oh my gosh, it's Cody. Because you're looking at the action and trying, everybody likes to figure out who's next. And here's the guy they didn't expect to be 15.
Next couple guys that came in, Bronson Reed, Kofi Kingston, Gunther. Gunther was another one where I felt like it was time for it to get him in there.
Yeah.
When he came in, actually felt like too long for me. Could have done with him in the very beginning or Cody Rhodes in the very beginning.
Yes.
But I'm just being picky now, I guess you could say. All the storylines are playing out there, though. You got Cody Rhodes eliminating people. A lot of people are eliminating people to the story. Kofi Kingston, man, they're just not going to try to get those crazy moments anymore, are they? He had a track record there. They're really forcing the issue with him doing something crazy. Then it didn't work out that one time.
Out of 16
times
in it.
And I was going to say that. Wasn't that his 16th or 17th Royal Rumble?
So he must have had 14
crazy moments,
highlight reels in there. And the one thing, like I always gauge everything off of Jumbo, and he says, hey, are we going to see one of those moments? And we never got it. So it's as a fan, you're disappointed because you're looking for that. And then you try to figure out, well, who's the next one to give us those moments like that?
Yep. People are getting eliminated, like I said, pretty according to what their storyline is at this point in time. Bronson Reed, I know it was good to see him get in there. Then we hit this point here. The guy from the Viking Raider, what's his name?
Akbar.
Yeah, comes in there. Then we get this big moment here at number 20. And there's been a debate, and people have actually asked about this in the chat, so we'll get to that. Do you have Brock Lesnar come back? Somebody in the chat asked, they would have thought Brock Lesnar would have came back. Why? I'm trying to remember exactly how they worded it, and I'll explain my opinion of it. You got to find it here. Okay, people are asking why somebody asked why they're saying Lesnar's done, and I'll explain it to you. So Lesnar was named in the suit. So it sounds like the plan was to have Lesnar in this match originally, which I think when we talked last week, I even said, will Lesnar be back? After that, maybe not. So apparently the plan was to have Lesnar come back, but because he's not named in the suit, let me be correct. Somebody was referred to as a former UFC heavyweight champion in the suit, which I don't know who else that could be, because I don't think Cain Velasquez was renegotiating a contract even.
Right.
So all things indicated from that suit that was filed that it was Brock Lesnar without actually saying it was Brock Lesnar. So I think that automatically took him out of the equation. Automatically. And what they did do, though, and I want to know how you thought about it, apparently, and I don't know if you'd heard this too, when they brought in Braun Breaker at number 20, he was spearing everybody. He's going wild. It sounds like that's exactly what they had planned for Brock Lesnar to do in vintage fashion like Lesnar would do. They basically unplugged Brock Lesnar, plugged in Braun Breaker, is what's being said.
For those moments, right? Brock would come in and destroy everybody, Suplex City, F5 everybody. So now you have Breaker come in and do the same thing and just clear house a little bit, stand tall. A great introduction for him. A good give the people, for those expecting Brock, give them something very Brock-like.
Yeah.
Brock mannerisms kind of thing. And people forget they didn't see Brock.
Omos came out next. Is Omos even on a show anymore?
I have not seen him.
Is he even affiliated with a brand? Is he Raw or SmackDown, brother?
I don't know if he was hurt. I don't know what the problem was, but here he comes out. Here's the attraction.
Exactly. Perfect Royal Rumble guy.
Yeah.
Not another WrestleMania guy. No offense to the guy.
Yep.
Very big guy, man. He's legit 7'3".
Yeah.
I mean, they like to exaggerate heights, right? Undertaker's not 7 foot tall. I don't know if Kane's quite 7 foot tall, but I'll tell you who's 7'3". Omos.
Almost.
Then it explains this awkward moment that felt awkward with Pat McAfee. Okay, so what's supposed to happen here originally, it sounds like, Pat McAfee's supposed to come into the match, and this is all insider talk, as Bill says, that Pat McAfee's supposed to come face-to-face with Brock Lesnar, and he just says the hell with it and eliminates himself. So that obviously can't happen. Right. So then they do this moment with Braun Breaker, and then Omos, where Pat McAfee's like, goes up, hey, it's not worth it, whatever. I think it was a funny moment. It did take too long to do, though.
It felt like the stare-off was too long. Like Pat should have got involved way sooner. But the payoff was great.
Yeah.
The payoff was great.
So I think that explains, somebody asked about that in the chat earlier. That's what the scenario, it sounded like, was supposed to be, which would have been hilarious, right?
Yep.
Lesnar and him going face-to-face, Pat McAfee. Let's talk about Pat McAfee now that we're on it. He came back. Always happy to see Pat McAfee. He's just a lovable guy, but he has no clue what the hell's going on. And he doesn't even, and the best part is he didn't try to act like he knew either, did he?
No. And any other
He's the only guy that could pull that off, Bill.
Right. And that's what I'm going to say. Any other time we'd be look, what was the one announcer a year or so back who knew nothing about the business and was learning on the fly?
There's been a few. There was that one really rough one. What was his name? He was from, they made it the general manager even.
It was terrible. But Pat doesn't do it in a way where he's oblivious to the sport. He does it to where I don't know who the hell this guy is, but look how cool this is. And
what happened with Kevin Fitzpatrick to run him off like that? They had a lot right. They really thought highly of him a year ago.
They were high on him. Then we heard he's being replaced, and 2 days later he's fired. And that's sports.
I think he comes from soccer, if I remember correctly, on the soccer scene, on a professional soccer scene.
Oh.
I could be wrong, but it's something like that. I thought he did fine. Here's the thing. They gotta put you in a position to succeed, but he didn't do anything wrong necessarily. But he was kind of in an awkward spot with Barrett and a lot of people would tease his voice, kind of how exasperated he was.
Yeah.
I think Jim Cornette is one that would talk about that a lot, and Brian Last, but didn't work out. So somebody's saying that Pat was a guest. So here's the thing. Pat was not a guest because it was announced that Pat is on Raw full-time with Michael Cole now, which I think that you can, first of all, Michael Cole is in charge of that whole area.
Right.
And he loves Pat McAfee, man.
Well, Cole is the one who's made everybody as good as they are. And then you see something, and no offense to anybody else, but Cole is the only one who could run with McAfee.
I'm going to be real curious to see how they do Barrett and Graves, though.
Yeah. I think it's going to be, trial and error. We could see some mixing and matching from time to time. But
it's not that they're bad. They're just kind of doing the same thing.
Yes. But I think Pat's so wide open and free to be Pat, that Cole's the only one who can run with him and make it all make sense and still have a good time with it. And then the biggest part of it is getting the stories over in the characters. So
And another part of it is having Pat McAfee there.
I'm glad he's back.
Having Pat McAfee involved is always good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's good publicity. It's just good to have him around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see too many people complain about him, to be honest. But man, he could just fit in. He's the only guy that could come in and not know what's going on and make it work.
And make it work. And that's a good thing, man.
But he might have to get caught up a little bit more though moving forward.
Yeah.
Who's that? There's some great moments like that at the end of that match. It kind of went along with that match because that match felt a little bit off at some point in time. We'll get back to the match, but that explains the Pat McAfee thing. JD McDonald comes in, then R-Truth comes in. So 23-24, you were a little bit off. Did you like this moment here with R-Truth, man? How he rolled him into the ring, got him eliminated immediately,
And then goes for the tag.
Yeah, let's talk about that moment where he was setting up the tag. Who was he trying to tag in? Who was he trying to get to tag him in?
Tom and Nick.
Have you ever seen a hot tag in a Royal Rumble match?
I thought I was at the edge of my chair cheering it on. Like, wait, come on, you can do it.
Could have never told me he was going to have this good of a comeback.
This
And that's not a knock on him, but it sounds like Damian Priest, first of all, really wanted to have him involved. Like Damian Priest, I've heard pitched it. Let's get him involved in this judgment, because I get the judgment is another thing where it could get a little stale if you're not careful. This has been an interesting thing to kind of keep that fire lit.
Yeah, and I think they're going to keep it going too as this Rhea and Damian thing progresses.
I think so too.
Going backwards for a minute. That's the other thing about carrying cross. I don't get. We have the Judgment Day. Now, what do we have? What are they called? The Reckoning or whatever?
I don't know. It's like AEW, man. They've got a million factions.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my thought there. But I dug the truth stuff. It's exactly what's needed. And what people will forget, much like Santino, is that Ronnie can work. He's a hell of a wrestler. And
Former main eventer.
We may only see that far and few between, but Truth coming out again and doing that hot tag spot is amazing. And he's got me saying, he's not got me saying Dominic, he's got me saying Tom and Nick. And I couldn't figure out why I saw the sign saying Tom and Nick Mysterio. And a kid kept told, I'm going, who the hell is Tom and Nick? And I'm thinking,
You can catch on it.
It's a Truth thing. So outstanding.
What that whole story where he lost his money in Bitcoin or whatever. Come up with that stuff, man.
And then Damien just comes out and says, he goes, you have no idea what you're saying right now. He goes, not.
We needed him at this point in the match because things are about to get serious. So let's take a step back, have a funny moment here, because what's about to happen is going to be big. Yeah. He gets thrown out by Damian Priest. That'll set up what happened on Raw, right, where they just beat him down. Which, man, I don't know. Some people really thought, I don't think you would have thought he would be involved with the Judgment Day this long.
Well, it's kind of like Sammy and the Bloodline, right? You tried it. It worked. Run with it as long as you...
It is. That's a pretty good comparison. Not quite to the level, but it's still a really good comparison.
Right.
The Miz comes out. Damian Priest comes out, like we said. Then at 27, here you get CM Punk. This is a weird crowd this night. I'm trying to figure out if it's the arena itself, which I don't know the acoustics of it, but this crowd was a little bit different than what we'd normally see. Did you get that vibe too?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it goes into placement and what's going on. And like by that time in a Rumble, you're actually waiting for the 90 seconds to be up more than you're interested in who's in the ring. Once you see them enter. But it wasn't the reaction that Punk's been getting. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it seemed a little bit soft, but I mean, Rhodes got one, but all in all, the whole show is just weird.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of stuff going on in WWE makes it kind of weird, but yeah, it was weird. But hey, it was good to see CM Punk in there. He looks good, man. He looks like $1 million when he comes out. He's in shape. He's tan. The man is looking like a completely different person than he was in AEW. He's tan, brother. He didn't break the Sting rule. He tan, brother.
Quickly, it seemed like he got in better shape.
Yeah.
Like he's not that he's never invested in how he looks or how he feels, but he's in shape, man.
He gets Dominic Mysterio out. My daughter screams, "No!" Dominic Mysterio did great in the match.
Yeah.
Did great.
I'm into his own, man.
So I think let's back up a little bit. just to those listening. I think the plan was to have Dominic Mysterio eliminate Brock Lesnar.
Oh, yeah?
That because he did Braun Breaker. I'm told that was an exact plug of what Lesnar would have done.
So I could see that, though, because if you kind of got everybody kind of ideaed about what they want to do, you just, instead of moving everything around, you just insert that kid into this.
Which made it a lot easier. They're actually lucky they had somebody that could pull that off.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that could pull that off. So I think he'll be a lot more involved in the main roster here as we go forward. But then again, I hope only if they have something for him.
Bingo.
'Cause if not, then don't do that. Braun Breaker's really good.
Yeah, I'm
Don't
glad
waste
they
it.
haven't pulled the trigger on it yet.
Don't waste it. But hey, yeah, Dominic Mysterio goes out. He did a hell of a job, man. I think nothing but positive things to say about what Dominic Mysterio's doing. I think it would have been Lesnar just absolutely manhandling him in Elimination Chamber, is what it sounded like. Get Brock in Australia. That's where they're going, right? Yeah. Get Brock in Australia as the spectacle and just absolutely slaughter Dominic Mysterio, is what it sounded like, because he eliminated him. But that didn't happen, obviously, so we'll see what happens. But Dominic Mysterio shines again. CM Punk's looking great, man. Ricochet comes out, kind of a Ricochet just gets put in these awkward moments, doesn't he? It's like number 28, Ricochet.
And then,
Okay. Yeah. He always going to do good. He's always going to do well.
yeah, you're going to get the flippity dippers and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, Ricochet. Drew McIntyre comes out, man. They're on fire with Drew McIntyre. He gets in a tussle with CM Punk, gives him a future shock DDT, rips his tricep clean off the bone during that spot. Immediately, you could tell something was wrong with CM Punk.
Yep.
That spark and fire that he came in with, I know a lot of people were saying he's gassed. He looks gassed. Well, he was gassed, but he also had no tricep anymore.
Right. He wasn't as gassed as he was gasping.
And he goes on here, man. Drew McIntyre is a big part of what's going on right now. He was great. Sami Zayn comes in at number 30. I was happy to see him. Sami Zayn, you can't always help but to root for him.
He's your guy.
He's my guy. He is my guy. I love Sami Zayn, but yeah, he is the guy. And this all plays out, man, and we'll just jump forward to it. McIntyre has some great moments, but it gets down to Punk and Rhodes and Gunther. We haven't mentioned Gunther much in this. Gunther did not get the moments that he did last year. He didn't need them, but Gunther was still in there. And I've told several people who the final three would be, and it came down to who I said it would be. We talked about it on this show.
Yeah. You nailed it.
I nailed the final three, and I knew it would be. I could say with 99.9% certainty, because that's who realistically could benefit from winning it, right? Now, what you didn't know is, and where you were talking about it last week, we were wrong, was Cody Rhodes comes out on top here. How Punk and him have this 5-minute exchange with Punk being hurt as bad as he is, I don't know how it played out. They made it work well. Cody Rhodes picks up the win. I know we've gone on this way too long. We got to still do on this day. But that leaves so much open to what's going to happen next.
So
go ahead.
Quick questions. Until you heard about the injury, did you know Punk was hurt?
Yes.
You did?
Yes. Didn't look right, dude.
I'll give you that. He didn't look right, but I wasn't sure that he was hurt.
I saw him they were doing a very good job of not shooting him in the corner hurt.
When he was grabbing his arm, right?
Because he immediately grabbed his arm after that DDT, though, if you watch it. Like, you don't grab your arm after a DDT, dude.
Right.
CM Punk knows how to sell, right? So when you see him grabbing his arm, it looks like he's in excruciating pain from a DDT. You're like, what the heck? But I realized it fully. I thought I saw him in the corner getting talked to by a ref. Honest, because WWF stated they're world class how they shoot these cameras.
Yeah.
But I saw from the corner him getting talked to by the ref, and he was holding his arm. I was like, oh no! I immediately thought of his tricep because he just tore his tricep, right? Same injury he just had, wasn't it?
Yes.
AEW?
Yes.
It was same arm. I don't know about that, but when him and Rhodes were going at it, it was so evident that he was not well. But they still pulled it off, and a lot of people didn't know. It sounds like you didn't know.
Well, I wasn't sure he was, like, you knew something happened.
He spent a lot of time on the ground for coming in that late, and
yes.
I don't think it's because he was in that bad of shape.
No, and that's why. So I wasn't sure if something happened, because all the way through the end, you knew something happened, but you didn't realize his tricep was torn off the bone. So kudos. But I love the old school part of the finish when he goes, "There's no way I'm losing to Dusty's kid."
Yeah.
I mean, that's just old school
Did
mentality.
you actually hear it? A lot of people didn't hear it. Did you hear it when he said it?
Oh yeah,
I did too.
yeah. I thought it was great.
Yep. And we'll get into this more next week, but the stage is set for Rhodes to finish his story, which we questioned last week.
Yep.
But you have CM Punk out now. You've got to hurt Seth Rollins. And like I said, we'll dive into this more after we get another Monday Night Raw in next week. You got some injuries happening, dude, but there's a roster there. WWE's in a position to handle this. But unfortunately, what it does hurt is bringing CM Punk back, getting all that attention, having him in WrestleMania is huge, just for the attention it's going to bring. But as far as a skill set, they have guys that could do this.
Yeah,
And they will. And it seems like Drew McIntyre might be one of them.
Of the two, here's a crazy statement. Here's why I want to make sure I say it right for anybody who's going to repeat me. Of Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, I think Drew's in a better position than Randy is.
Yeah. Yeah, because it makes sense to everything he's gone through. He's been a part of all these storylines.
Yeah.
He was never been, he's had this Judgment Day thing. He's had this CM Punk, I don't want you here thing. It just makes sense. And he's good. But I'll tell you two things you can't sleep on. Damian Priest, and this ties in, and I don't think it'll happen, but if done right, and if they wouldn't have dropped the ball on Sami Zayn, he could be in contention for it. But the last couple of months, they've just laid off the gas, and he's been out.
Yeah.
He took some time off, but even the few months before that, they laid off the gas after them tag team titles.
Yeah. Let's not forget Senior Money in the Bank, especially.
Yep.
So to your point, and try to say it so nobody reads they're not Punk because of the acknowledgement and all the, CM Punk fandom, but all those guys and more, to your point, can step into that role because the WWE is loaded with talent right now that's been tied in with someone, which hasn't happened a lot in the past.
CM Punk fan for 20 years now. It was unfortunate to see that.
Yeah.
Had a hell of a promo on Monday Night Raw, really emotional.
Yeah, he did.
It was good. It was from the heart. And Drew McIntyre came in there.
Squashed it. It was great.
He's taking the ball and running with it, man.
Yeah.
What did he say? He can relate to the story CM Punk told. He's not a religious man, but he prayed for that to happen, CM Punk to get hurt.
Yes.
And when he said that, you could have inflated that crowd was like a balloon, man. And when he said that,
it should be his new shirt.
I prayed for that to happen.
Just on the front, I prayed for you, and on the back to get hurt, and it's just
yeah, it was intense. Yeah. Then of course he beat Punk up, wrote him off TV. Maybe
Punk had his arm taped up, and he was still throwing elbows,
hitting him with the arm. Yeah.
So
you got nothing holding his arm on there.
Listen, Warriors, they're all
big loss for CM Punk being out though.
Yeah.
I think that was the guy that could have took it from Rollins and Seth Rollins needs a break.
Yep.
It's kind of like MJF. MJF, we had to get him off TV. He had to get healthy.
Yeah,
he hurt the product, to be honest.
3-year run.
Seth Rollins is beat up, man.
Yeah.
He's got to get that belt off of him. He's got to get healed up. And CM Punk would have been a really cool thing to do because I think it could have circled back in with McIntyre.
Yeah.
Afterwards. And they could have had a really great several-month program. It could end with Seth Rollins tying back in. Not going to happen. Now, CM Punk's out for, I'd say, at least 6 months.
Yeah, but still to your scenario, though, there's still room for them to all three get entwined.
I think CM Punk and Drew McIntyre will have their day, and I want to see it now.
Yeah.
Because it's not every day that somebody gets hurt, and Drew McIntyre didn't. I'm not saying he caused it to happen, but it's not every day you can actually capture every time, because people get hurt all the time in wrestling, that you can actually capture that magic of, I did that to you.
Right.
People say that all the time, and you're like, no, you didn't. But he made it work. How often? It's hard to make that. They do these fake injuries, too. Like, right, Rey Mysterio's knees hurt really bad. They're going to act like he's going to get slammed into the steps onto him. That didn't cause it. But McIntyre actually can say, I hurt you.
Yeah, much like Nia Jax with the broken nose.
Oh gosh, yeah, but they didn't capitalize off of it quite as good.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see. Interesting, man. I don't want to beat it down forever. We'll get into this more next week, but we truly don't know now.
No, and that's the best part.
Yeah,
That's what's got me engaged now. You have no idea where they're going to go. And are they going to screw me just when I think I got it figured out?
You think Rhodes finishes the story? You said he was going to win last year, Bill. I told you not to. I told you last year that don't get too excited on that. And you said he's going to win.
It has to be.
You said that last year.
Well, I'm saying I don't think. Here's what I'll say. If he doesn't do it, I don't see us talking about this next year. It's like it's a big thing.
I agree with you. I'm just giving you a hard time. I think this is the time.
But Seth sold me on Monday, and that's what the WWE is doing so well the past 6 months.
Do you think they're doing it to selling you on it to swerve you, or legitimately have something in their back pocket?
I think for the first time it's both. They're constantly. Here's the thing: they always say we give the WWE universe what they want, and now they can say, "But we just didn't tell you how we're going to go about it," because now you've got people thinking of 2 and 3 and 4 different scenarios with each superstar. Where before you go, no, this is it. This is all it's going to be, and they keep, and every player's alive in the storyline, so it's interesting.
We'll finish it up with how did you like the ending of the Rumble? I always have a weird feeling if you're going to give guys a match there at the end. Gunther and Rhodes did a great job last year. Had to be 5 minutes at least, right? Those two went at?
Yeah.
The last two. Punk's hurt this year. They made it work. You got a couple different ways. These guys can really go at it, and you don't really know who's going to win. Or you can do like you saw with Bayley. I'm going to capitalize on this moment, which you see all the time. How do you feel about those the finishes when you compare them to each other?
I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
It wasn't a bad ending.
I loved the get off shot of Roman just standing there.
You liked how they're going to the press box and showing those two?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why,
again, it felt like a more sportsy aspect.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because you see the champion sitting up in his box or with, certain people, his manager and stuff like that. So that's what we got. I like the way they went off. I
very big on UFC showing who's in the crowd. Now at WWE, they will bring people into they'll have a football player come in and they'll highlight them and all that. But UFC, between fights, constantly they're showing, and that's where they do that weird air boxing.
Yep.
Everybody's going to air box, Donald Trump's there. Everybody's there, dude. And it kind of felt like that, man.
To your point earlier, I think it's going to come to a lot more of that. I think that's where they will definitely collaborate on the creative parts on those things. But all in all, I thought there was another good, I'm going to say pay-per-view, paid live event, whatever you want to call it. I thought all in all was really good. And not to go down that rabbit hole, but I think Monday made Saturday better. Their follow-up was really strong to me.
Yeah. They could have went out there and just thought, I don't know what we're going to do. Let's just throw crap at the wall and see if it sticks. Seems like they kind of did that, but it really stuck.
Yeah.
Because McIntyre made it work, to their credit. And Cody Rhodes and Rollins, there's they can go in a lot of different directions now, which I feel like is not always what the case.
Right.
Historically speaking. But this last couple of years of WWE, man, it's been like that. They're on fire. This is another successful event, by the way. We won't go into the details of it, but in the limelight of what happened with Vince McMahon, the success of this pay-per-view, PLE, was very high. Let's do on this day in pro wrestling history and get you to bed, man. You look sleepy. What do you say?
I say on this day
in pro wrestling history.
Let's
start off with the 29th. So this was the Royal Rumble in 2006, American Airlines Arena in Miami. The Royal Rumble match itself was won by Rey Mysterio, who set the record for the longest time with 62 minutes. I think that record's been beat.
Yeah.
They like to tease that. But at this point in time, I think it was from Ric Flair, man.
Was it?
I don't know. The record before that may have been Ric Flair in the number where he won the title. He was in there forever. Maybe not, but anyways, this is when I felt like they really started teasing how long they've been in there. They hadn't done that in a while.
Right.
Until this one. See if I can find it here.
Man, the Royal Rumble's still going.
Well, this cannot be good. Mr. McMahon badmouthing Shawn Michaels. Who are you doing there? It's Shane McMahon. Yeah! Shane McMahon has eliminated Shawn Michaels. Goes for the clothesline. Rob Van Dam. And there goes Carlito. We are down to 4 men. Rob Van Dam, Triple H, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton. Rob Van Dam heavyweight champion. And look at Mysterio going for the 619. Oh, watch out here. There's the speed and quickness of Rey Mysterio. The head scissors. Oh, no. Here we go.
No, you gotta be kidding me. Look at this.
619 connected. Rey and Triple H have been in it from the beginning. And laying up 1 and 2. Mysterio being right in here. Eliminated. Parading around with Mysterio. And Rey hanging on to the top rope.
Ray hanging on for dear life here. Whoa, whoa.
Mysterio. He did it. He did it.
Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio is going to WrestleMania.
Rey Mysterio is the only guy that could. There'll never be another Rey Mysterio quite to that level. He actually believable, right? When he's running around, like they're like, "Where is he?" Like,
Yeah.
nobody else can pull that off, and you actually believe it.
No.
But when he ran around circles around Triple H and he's looking around for him, it was like believable, you know.
Yeah.
That was a big moment for him. Goes on, wins the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
It was cool, dude. So you had a few years there where you were seeing a lot of guys who had been grinding it out. We showed Benoit before. That was an example. Rey Mysterio fits in line a few years later here and gets his moment.
Yeah.
And wins in Mysterio fashion, the way he eliminated those guys.
Like Ray transcended the WCW thing because a lot of the WCW guys were homegrown, and I personally feel the homegrown guys never had a chance. But Mysterio, he gets it.
Yeah.
And he can work with anybody, big, small, short, fat, anything. But he always made sure it was never about him, which made everybody want to make it about him.
Ultimate underdog.
Ultimate underdog. And he plays that role better than anyone. And back then he was at the top of his game too. So
Yeah, he's so good, man. There'll never be another Rey Mysterio.
yeah, it's crazy.
Great moment, though. Let's go to the 30th here on 2005. Royal Rumble took place in Fresno, California. This is an interesting end, right? Because we saw this botched ending between Batista and John Cena, where they're eliminated at the same time. They weren't really supposed to be. Vince McMahon comes marching out from the back to the ring, tears both quads while getting into the ring, sits there and instructs them on how they're going to finish the match, and then they restart and finish the match. So let's watch it.
Going after the head of Cena and the head. Oh, watch out!
John Cena, Batista, the final two. I go. He's a hell of a hand, and he's on Raw, and that's what matters. The ball.
No! Yeah! Get him! Oh,
My God, they both went out.
Who touched first?
Batista wins it.
Yeah, no, Cena won!
And we got a major malfunction at the junction here. We got two winners of the Royal Rumble. Here comes the chairman of the WWE, Mr. McMahon.
It's not a shocker. What the hell? Wait a minute!
And Cena.
Look, there you go, John Fumble!
And Cena now coming.
Per order of the chairman, Mr. McMahon, he has ordered that this match be restarted.
Well, that sounds good.
Matches.
Yeah. Come on, John. No, watch
Batista.
out.
Oh, Batista.
Oh, no.
The Spine Buster.
No.
Batista beats Cena.
The winner,
Is on the set.
Batista.
It will stop without controversy. But by God, we know now who's going to the main event at WrestleMania.
You can see that when you watch it now, how he tore it. How do you just sit there like that? They say that's one of the worst pain you could feel, that injury.
Off your leg, that your hamstrings, anything like that is
Let's talk about the botch. I know you don't like that word either. How the heck does that happen where you don't? That was not supposed to happen. But yet, how are they able to fall out of the ring at the same time?
the momentum just took him, and then
But he actually fell at the same time as Cena.
but I'm probably sure, and thinking back to some of the conversations, they were trying to see if they had a different camera angle where maybe someone's foot hit before the other one and all these other things, but they literally hit the deck at the same time.
They hit hard too. Boom. And they
What
restarted.
a great ad lib, right?
Amazing ad lib. Honestly, watching it if Vince McMahon wouldn't have tore his quad, you wouldn't have known that anything was off.
Right.
That's when things got awkward, right? You're like,
Just sat there.
why is he sitting there? But you still, though, you wouldn't have known even really. I mean, you would have thought, man, they timed that really well somehow. This is the beginning. Those two guys were so big at this point, dude.
Oh,
You know, it just took off from here.
yeah. There's no way of saying, okay, they're just climbing. No, they just took off.
We'll move on to the 31st here. Let me try to get it pulled up. Let's watch it, then talk about it. How's that sound?
I like it.
Change it up a little bit.
Give it. Kick it over. Oh, my God, that's Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Barry Sanders, Dean Malenko. What are you doing here tonight? They walked out on the Ted Turner organization, but they've not signed any contracts that I'm aware of. It was radical enough that they walked out on their last employer because it was a lousy place to be, in their opinion. There they are. I cannot believe this. Road Dogg having some words. Hey, oh, Road Dogg he took the first shot at these four radicals. Barry Sanders in the ring. Sanders with a suplex. Eddie Guerrero on top. Oh, my God, what a frog splash. You said these guys don't work here. What are they doing? Malenko, what's he going to do with the Road Dogg? Malenko with a suplex. And Benoit on top. And Benoit. Oh, my God. This is absolutely extraordinary. Those four guys that just left the WWF Tag Team Champions. Laying in a heat. Where are they going now? Those four radical young men are walking up the ramp. It's like they're going back into our locker room. They don't work here.
We'll talk about this moment in long form. This was on the 31st, 2000, Monday Night Raw, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko make their debut. We talked about on this day in pro wrestling history, if you follow that, what I post every day, the moment when Benoit won the title, he leaves the company anyway. You had guys here and there coming and going. Jericho. Well, it started with Nash and Hall, right? I mean, Macho Man, all that throughout the years.
Right.
This is like the largest people doing this at once. These friends who are real life, really close friends, from my understanding, you would know that more than me, kind of made a pact together. They're going to bet on themselves and made this jump, man.
And I think I'm not 100% sure of, like, I just don't remember, but Shane Douglas was in that as well.
I've heard, yeah. Okay, so
But
Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. He's done a deep dive on this that has a lot of detail about getting these guys to come. And there was something like that going on, yes.
But, excuse me, my lifesaver. Some people didn't want Shane there.
I don't remember the reasoning, but yeah, there was something with Shane where yeah.
So when the four went, one was left miserable. But when those four went, we were watching so closely.
Hey, you'd worked with him.
Well, traveled with them,
Yeah.
Partied with them, lived with them on the
You were still on the other side. So what were people saying about this back in WCW?
So jacked, like the most ridiculous, the top guys, those jackasses leaving that kind of money and all this, that, they'll never do nothing with them. That locker room was watching. We were watching to make, see what they were doing. And
Yeah.
everybody was like so happy for them when that all came to be. So
If these guys would have waited till the invasion storyline, would it have played out the same?
no, they all would have quit the business or all went back to Japan.
Could have been a few that broke through the barriers, right? Maybe Eddie Guerrero.
I don't think he would have went without the others though.
Fair enough.
At
I
that time,
really can't understate how big of a moment this was.
yeah.
It probably got some people's minds thinking, I would imagine.
Oh, because a lot of guys thought they were just full of soup and full of themselves, and because there was all that banter about what kind of money was being thrown at them to stay, and how they said they weren't. And if you were close with those guys, fortunately I was one of them, we would talk about all that stuff. So I think a lot of people thought it was all hype, and then there they were as the Radicals, and people went. I think like a lot of people said in WWE, this is the place to be. The guys that were WCW lifers and guys that are there through the whole thing as it grew and went to like, no, this is the place to be, and people want to be where I am. And all of a sudden it was like, no, we don't.
These guys have been fighting and clawing, and they took a bet on themselves, right?
Yeah.
These guys coming through ECW,
And it paid
Japan before,
Yep.
Mexico. They were hungry.
Yeah.
And
And they were veterans of the ring.
and they're already well seasoned.
Yep.
And they had this job. This was huge, man. It really,
It was a big move.
the ratings war was for the most part over, right?
Yeah.
At this point in time. But they really set the scene here because They could have just stayed there and done whatever's not got the respect that they deserved. A lot of big things come out for these guys too. Eddie Guerrero, obviously, go down as one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Chris Benoit, legacy tarnished after what happened, but in the ring wise, had a legacy.
Yeah.
Dean Malenko is way underappreciated.
He solidified his
spot in the industry.
Yeah, because everybody knew Dean was the brain guy. Dean was the
heck. He did the suplex, man.
But he went out to be one of the top producers, and and now he's doing it, and he's leading the charge, and the guy's brain just works differently than everybody else, and he gets it, and he knows strengths and weaknesses of everybody else. So everybody flourished from that. Perry was the lone wolf out of that.
Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't go big for him,
Yeah.
A lot of talent, though, man. I mean,
I'll tell you a quick story about when Perry got hurt. Perry and I were tagging against Henning and Stasiak, and we had this spot, and Stasiak went and rolled, and I don't know if he rolled too many times, whatever he did, he rolled the wrong way and blew Perry's knee out. Now, Perry and I were getting set to revamp the old Eliminators gimmick.
Oh.
And so we were tagging on all live events, and they were getting ready to give us a tag run. Perry blew his knee out. That was the end of that.
You had a rough go about coming in there, didn't you? Didn't work out continuously. But Perry Saturn, though, had a real rough go about it.
Yeah, in life, everything, yeah.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I think a lot of people not knowing how they're all good, don't get me wrong, not knowing the real seasoned skill set of those other three guys, on just looking at Perry Saturn, you could have easily thought he would have the most success.
Yeah.
Just because the monster, dude.
Agreed.
I mean,
yeah.
But I don't know, crazy. One more, dude. The first. So today, as of today, 1993, the narcissist Lex Luger made his WWF Monday Night Raw debut, beating Jason Knight in just less than 3 minutes. I think he had premiered at the Royal Rumble the night before, if I remember correctly. But yeah, let's watch it.
That's too much for me.
Too much for you to remember?
Yeah.
I believe it's right. I'm going to go with it at least.
I'm going to go with, I believe what you say.
Unbelievable. I can't believe that's the viciousness of the World Wrestling Federation. And talk about unbelievable people. Here comes another one.
Here is the narcissist Lex Luger.
This man puts everyone else's physique to shame. Just ask him. Look at this. Loves the mirror.
Wait a minute, what's that?
It's Victor Buono.
It's not Victor Bono. It's Raw.
Locking up with his opposition, Jason Knight. Ups down at his muscularity and is very impressed with himself. And here comes Mr. Knight right into a boot. And it's almost good night for Royal Rumble. And Mr. Heenan very high on the aspirations of Lex Luger.
Really cool names, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Whoa, look at that.
Basically out on his feet. His pinky on the chest. That's arrogance for you. Look at that.
That was a big signing for them. They really thought highly of that. Are you talking about that spot?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. But Luger was never the most polished fella.
Live TV is a son of a gun, even when it's taped.
Yeah, really. Live, in front of an yeah. But they were really high on getting him in there, dude. They thought that was really big. Lex Luger did wherever he went. He was Lex Luger, man.
Yeah.
He had those years, like 10 years where he was Lex Luger. But they were really high up on this, getting him in there. It was a big get back in the day.
It was, and I just don't think, looking at it now and getting to know Lex over the years, he didn't look really comfortable in there.
No, he did not. Well, he never, unless he's wrestling Ric Flair, I don't know if he ever looked comfortable in there.
Right.
My opinion.
But in that one there, and it goes back to what we were saying about Kevin Owens, and it's not a shot at Lex at all, but there's leaders in there that can, polish things up. But yeah, that's the first thing I noticed after all these years. Like, Lex didn't look comfortable in there. But yeah, they were this narcissist thing. They were high on it. They were high on Lex. I remember them trying to bring back this narcissist thing with Mark Jindrak early on when we came there. So it didn't work then either. So
no, but this is the year that would follow this is some rough times in WWF.
Starting in 2000, right? Oh no,
94.
Yeah, 94.
Financially, one of their worst years.
Yeah.
But this is a rough start of it. But yeah, it was a big get when they got Luger there.
Yeah.
Luger made his rounds back and forwards too.
And that's why it was so big. That was the time because that was so big when he showed back up for us in Minnesota.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. Okay, we'll go to a few different comments going on here.
Cool.
Noah is at work. He says he keeps forgetting when he go live at this time.
Come on.
You got to work, though. I understand. Chad Michael, how we look at the talent coming in together, Benoit, Eddie, and the year Cena, Orton, Batista. Have we had the next group of talent yet, you think, where we will look back at the future like we did with the Eddie group and then the Cena group?
No.
It's going to be hard to top that, ain't it?
Gonna be hard. I'm trying to think.
I'll throw out some comparisons. Let me know what you think. I think the Four Horsewomen were a group that came in around the same time that were big.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
But when I get past that, I could grasp at straws on some of this NXT stuff.
But I think the point was they came in and stayed together, and then even when they branched off, they were still there. I think we had groupings of talent that came in together, but none of them are there.
Yeah.
So the impact wasn't. But the Four Horsewomen is a good comparison.
It is.
Yeah.
But when you get outside of Dean Malenko and Perry Saturn and what they actually accomplished in storylines after that was not as much.
Right.
But Benoit and then Eddie Guerrero
exceed
beyond all expectations of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know if we'll get that. And the OVW group, I don't know if there'll ever be anything like that ever again.
I don't think so. That was a Benjamin, Lesnar, Orton,
Batista.
Batista.
I don't know how.
Conway, Rico, Beth Phoenix, Jillian Hall was there.
Jillian Hall, man, you're throwing out some stuff I haven't thought of. I haven't thought I've heard in a while. Yeah, that was such a good group, man. And they needed, and the main roster needed them. After this invasion thing fizzled out, after the NWO, I'm going to inject it with the zone poison, the NWO phased out. We really had a time there where you needed that next generation of people. And we saw it start to happen on that 2003 Royal Rumble, right? That's when those guys were all in on it and going.
Yep.
And it couldn't happen at a better time. Noah wants to know our thoughts on the Royal Rumble. Noah, brother.
Noah,
go to any of our social media pages. Go to it's actually live streaming on my YouTube, and you will hear all about it, man.
Come on,
just
Noah.
did that for 2 hours, brother.
Catch up, Noah, before next week.
Chad Michael has one more question, and this is one you'll like.
Yeah.
Chicken wings, flat or drums, and what's your favorite sauce?
Drums, and blue cheese.
Sauce? What is there like? Okay, so blue cheese you're gonna dip it in. What about sauce on it?
Maybe on a good day, maybe teriyaki.
Oh, I'm actually one of the very few people. Hey, Crowbar's saying, hey, Crowbar, we're about to go off, man. He's been on the podcast. Great guy.
Good guy. My man.
Chad Michael agrees with you, dude. He loves the teriyaki, dude.
Chad Michael.
I haven't met many people that like teriyaki. I do too. It's controversial. That's a controversial thing to say. People go with like the normal stuff, right? Like the Asian zing flavor or the buffalo.
Right.
You went with teriyaki. Man. Bill, man, we've gone 2 hours. It's time to close up shop. I'm tired. You got a big week ahead of you.
Big presentation tomorrow. We got to let him get some sleep. So, Bill, man, it's been another fun episode. I can't wait to dive more into some of these storylines next week. Yeah, good stuff. I'm looking forward to it, and we'll catch up on this latest of this trip. You know me. Do what you say what you mean what you do.
Just had 12 buff drums, and Crowbar's got it figured out. Oh, Noah's going to miss you. Well, Noah, man, there's so much content out there. You can watch it all, and it'll be like you never missed us. BillDeMott.com. Everybody listening, there's so much stuff there for you to check out. We've been going a year, man. We'll have to do something special for this in 2 weeks. So
I'm going to wear a tie.
You're going to wear a tie?
Yeah.
Be a big tie, dude.
It probably won't be.
It'll look like a bow tie when you're done.
It'll look like I'm wearing a lanyard.
It'll look like one of them little tiny skinny ones. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. We're closing up shop. Until next time, keep being you and keep being great.
Jeff Townsend Media. CG, good night.
And the question is, do I stay here
Will you be back? Are you gonna come back? Will you be back? Are you coming back?